Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to focus on creating aromatherapy blends to fight fatigue, all in a handy mini roller ball that you can keep in a pocket or a bag or your desk drawer or within reach for when you need it. That feeling of extreme tiredness you get with fatigue can be really quite challenging to cope with, and having something immediately to hand can be really useful. With fatigue, you can feel physically weak from exhaustion. You can have difficulty concentrating or even brain fog. Or you can just feel emotionally overwhelmed and exhausted from the fatigue. These are the early signs of fatigue, and at these times I reach for my essential oils as they can provide some support during those challenging times. Do remember to seek professional advice if your fatigue continues for any period of time, as it could be a symptom of something else. But I do find that these mini roller balls are really helpful with the challenges of fighting fatigue. So how do we use these roller balls? They tend to come in a pack. I've got a few here. They tend to come in different colours. We've got a pink one here. You can get the plain glass ones. You can get the amber coloured ones as well. And some people prefer to use the darker versions. They are said to maintain the length of the oil and the purity a bit longer when you keep them in dark bottles. You also get different sizes. So I like the 10 millilitre ones, which are this size, but you can get them smaller. This is a 5 millilitre one. And these ones I find are good when you've got the really expensive oils such as sandalwood, rose and melissa, and they come ready diluted because they are too expensive to buy, or if they are, you want to really use them extremely sparingly. But those that you tend to purchase generally come already diluted in a carrier oil, and they fit nicely in these so that you can keep those to hand. And those three oils in particular are really well known for being very beneficial as an aromatherapy oil. One of the things that arrives with your pack is this wonderful little tool which allows you to open the bottle, because the stoppers can be pushed in quite tightly. Sometimes the stoppers do arrive separately, but more often than not they arrive already pushed in. So you take your little tool and you just need to shift the lid so that it separates from the glass, and then you use the edge of the tool just to fully pop that out. And that stops you trying to fiddle around with dangerous knives and your fingernails and things like that. The tool is extremely helpful. Also, within the pack, you get some stickers normally. It could be plain white ones, could be nice ones like this. And particularly useful if you want to record what it is that you've blended in the bottle. You can't remember, or you're using quite a few different oils, you can record this and put it on the bottle. And also what I sometimes do is I might group 3 different types together and actually give those as a gift. And all you need to do is, you might have some old gift bags lying around, or you can get some if you're going to maybe do Christmas gifts for everybody. Then you can get a pack of these, really quite reasonably priced. And they make wonderful gifts. People really appreciate that you've gone to the effort of putting them together, but the labels are useful in that respect as well. And what is also useful about these is that, of course, they are reusable and refillable, so cost saving as well as practical. I also like them because I can choose what oils I mix in with that to create the blends that I like, because aromatherapy blends can be quite individual and quite personal. So this way you get to put into the blend exactly what works for you, what you like, and avoid those essential oils, and there are some that you simply don't like. So let's move to my first demonstration, and this one is going to be for use on the radial point. So that's the pulse point that you use to test your pulse on your wrist, so down from your thumb, your main 2 fingers there, and that's where your pulse is. And if you get it in the right place, you can actually feel your pulse, and that's where you're aiming to dab this particular aromatherapy blend. Now, just a word about the ratios. Now, I tend to like to use 10 millilitres, so I'll talk you through this as I demonstrate. So the first carrot oil we're going to use is wheat germ. So you want 10 millilitres. Now, if you've got a very steady hand, you can mix this straight into the roller balls, but I find it much easier to blend everything in a little jug and pour that in. And most jugs you will find have got a little spout which will allow you to easily pour that in. So into the 10 millilitres of wheat germ oil, I'm going to put the first of my essential oils, which is the middle note, Juniper berry. And I'm going to do 5 drops of this. That's lovely. And I tend to do 5 drops of a middle note and then mix that with 5 drops of something else. Now, I tend to just use 2 oils for these mini bottles. Other people use 3, but I always use the middle note as 5 notes. Juniper berry is lovely. It's got almost like a bittersweet aroma. And the oil is steam distilled from the juniper berry tree. And it's a great oil for anyone that's feeling sluggish or tired. It naturally refreshes and has that invigorating feeling on the mind and the body. Now, just a cautionary note about juniper berry. It's not suitable for those in pregnancy, as with many aromatherapy oils. If you are pregnant and you want some safe oils, do look those up, because there are some that you can use. but it's also not suitable for those people who are taking high blood pressure medication, because the juniper berry, there are compounds within it that interact with the medication. So be aware of that. Now, one of the oils that I find works really well with this is peppermint. This is a US peppermint variety. It's quite sweet. It's the sweetest of the mint variety, very cooling, and it has still got that minty aroma, but it's much sweeter than your normal peppermint. It's helpful for refreshing a tired mind, and maybe when you're feeling a bit low, peppermint has that bit of a lift to it. That's nice. So let's do a white one. Not white, a clear bottle, I think we'll do for this one. So this is your juniper berry and peppermint mixture. Make sure you've got that click. If you don't get the click, the lid won't close properly, and then you end up with it all in your bag, and you don't want that, or all over your desk drawer or your table. But that works really well. So, actually that's a bit stuck. Sometimes the roller balls do get a bit stuck, so if you put a little bit of oil over them, that frees them up nicely. And we were going to use this on the radial pulse point. That's a really nice, refreshing blend there. Okay, let's put that to one side and get a second jug out. And this actually has a smaller spout, which is really helpful for getting into these amber bottles. I find them much narrower, some of them, and are much thinner glass-wise as well. So the quantities might vary. For example, the glass on this one is slightly thicker, so you need to just be careful with the amounts. This one, because the glass is thinner, you'll actually get more liquid in there. But I would stick with the 10 millilitres. It's easy to calculate things in your head that way. So this second demonstration, we're going to use, I think, sweet almond oil. Turn that round so I can see the measure clearly. And to this, I'm going to add 5 drops of black pepper. Now this oil has a really warm, spicy aroma, and it's a great oil for helping to ground the mind. It's got a real feeling of comforting and warmth. So 5 drops of that. Well, that comes up very, very quickly. Okay, have to watch out for that one. The odd extra drop is not going to be a major problem, but if you do too many, then you need to start again because the blend won't work. But the odd one or two is not going to be too much of a problem. Now to this, what I am going to add is pine, and that's a top note, so top note pine, and it's got a real fresh woody aroma. It really helps. I mentioned a foggy mind earlier, and I find this one really helps to revive and clear that fogginess. Oh, that's nice. That blends well together. Now, I think I mentioned earlier, I find with these amber ones, they are really quite narrow. So they do come with these useful funnels, and particularly if you've got unsteady hands, I do find that useful. And then you can just pour that in. Slightly overfilled that one. Now, the reason I'm taking a little bit out is you've still got to get the stopper in. We will use that for something else. Okay. And I would suggest we use this one on the temporal pulse point here. It's quite cooling actually. For my final choice of blend, I'm going to use 10 millilitres of apricot kernel, and this is for the carotid pulse point. So it's a slightly thicker oil, but still runny enough to run through on the roller ball. When you pick your carrot oils, you are better going for the runnier oils. Don't choose something like castor oil or a thick olive oil, because that won't roll as smoothly. Okay, so to this one I'm going to add 5 drops of rosemary. Rosemary is a very aromatic herb, hence it's used in cooking quite a lot as well. And I've got a rosemary bush in my garden, which in the summer, when I'm sat out there, just fills that space with this aromatic smell. It's just wonderful. And it's well known for its health and well-being properties. Now to this, what works well with the rosemary is actually a base note. So I'm going to opt in the other direction, and I'm going to use ginger for this. Now this is quite a stimulating oil, but at the same time quite warming as well, and it helps to really fight those feelings of fatigue and lethargy that you get. Let's mix that in. Okay. And it sort of takes the headiness down of the rosemary. It needs to be well mixed actually. Just get my glass. That's better. This is a new bottle, so I'm just going to make sure the roller ball is working on that. And then this would be for the carotid artery here. That is a very nice mixture, that one. And then, of course, you can label these up to make sure you know what's in them and just use them. I really hope that you will get some benefit from this as a really practical method of helping just relieve the edge of that fatigue that you get. And, you know, fatigue can be caused by all sorts of things, but it can simply be that you're overtired due to things that are happening. So that brings me to the end of my demonstrations, and I really hope that has given you some practical solutions to get some immediate relief with these roller balls from some really useful combinations of aromatherapy oils that are well known to help with fatigue and the symptoms of fatigue. So I hope you will benefit in me sharing this practical source of using essential oils. Thank you for watching.